Yeah. Words, words, words. 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 Where does language come from? Important question. A guy named Edward Sapir and Benjamin Lee Whorf were asking in the 1920s when they developed their theory of linguistic relativity. Right? Basically, the language that we speak shapes our understanding of the world. Now, that's a little bit too strong for me. Right? It's sort of deterministic, right? I would basically tailor that to say something like cultural relativity. So replace language with the word culture, replace shapes with the word help shape. You end up with something like the culture we absorb and co-create helps to shape our understanding of the world. Regardless, language is an important cornerstone of our sapience, of a culture that separates us from other higher apes, the ever-changing mashup of heirloom knowledges transmitted across generations. Language helps shape us, our minds, our identity, our intuition of what's going on socially and what should go on. But where does language come from? As children, we all learned one. In this room, I'd wager, we're all familiar with English. And what happens if we trace it back in a sort of archaeology of language? We journey back through Old English, French, Gaelic, Latin from the Roman Empire, ancient Koine or Common Greek from Alexander's great imperial conquests, Sanskrit. You keep going back, keep tracing, until eventually the origins are lost in the recesses of history. The point is, none of us invented English, and yet we use it every day with intimate command. Treating English as an example of human language, we archaeologists of knowledges are now poised to see that it is a grand experiment in crowdsourcing, fully distributed cultural experiment in complex, structured sounds and marks on a page. The original analog Wikipedia of vocabulary and grammar, if you will. Functionally, language helps us communicate and build, love, and understand, and express a rich inner life. And where did that come from? Now, I've heard two good theories on the origins of language. One is that it originated from calls in Africa, like bird calls. The other is it originated from song in India. I tend to believe in a combination of something, but it's still, it's lost to history. Either way, poetry is as old as language. It's impossible to conceive language without poetics. Every sentence you utter, every sentiment you express using words possesses an inherent poetics. We are poets all. Spoken with a slight difference, poetry is the music of our conceptual and social lives. Every sentence you utter is lyrics. Your inflections and intonations chant the soundtrack to your life and the lives of those within earshot. A discipline of breath past vocal cords. Speaking is singing, and sentences are songs. Poems are songs. And as such, they're susceptible to analysis in a feat worthy of Aristotle, Da Vinci, or Descartes, an obscure early 20th century Dutch scholar of ancient Near Eastern folk literature named Jan P. Fockelman, proposed an intimate breakdown. In summary, when you're analyzing any text or unit of spoken word, you can break it down like this. There's the sound, the phoneme, the word, the morpheme, the phrase or sentence, the sememe, and then depending on the genre, the paragraph, the chapter, the work, the discourse, the author's corpus. And I would add another level past that, the global discourse, anthropological pragmatics, or the world. In other words, the words we speak create the world. Alternatively, we sing the world into existence. World history is a chorus, And we're the virtuoso vocalists that sing it into being. If poems are songs, then poetry affords an opportunity to study how structured sound evokes thoughts and feelings. Now, if you haven't guessed, my approach to poetry is informed by a deep appreciation for the liberal arts, especially philosophy. I was trained in continental philosophy at Duquesne University, and to this day I bear within myself the mark of that training, both in my perspective and my poetry. You could say I write philosophical poetry, but I might be a little bit deceptive because really it's my poetry, my philosophical poetry is my personal philosophy infusing my poetry. The philosophy and my poetry indeed encodes my journey. And one enduring souvenir of that philosophical journey I picked up during the years chronicled by Inside Cupid, Psyche occurred in 2004 when I met the Sacred Dice. And a cornerstone of their philosophy is take a risk. Each poem is an experiment. Each poem is a risk. It's risk everywhere, venture everywhere. Nothing ventured, nothing gained, and fortune favors the bold. There's always a risk when you're trying to write the subconscious. The honesty, mindfulness, and articulation required tax the soul. And then the playful side, exploring the medium. Some of my poems are pure sound experiments, studies. Most of them encode observations of the world. So you could look at my work as a journal of observations, a sort of travelogue. As far as the work itself, Inside Cupid Psyche, we're launching tonight, covers the years of 2003 to 2008. Covers my first teaching post, my first sojourn here in the City of Angels. Each poem is self-contained, a complete observation. Rants, odes, aphorisms, meditations. It's been a wild ride. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.